You haven't started already?
I started. I started.
Last time you pre-started.
Yeah, that's true. It's Steve Jones.
Steve Jones is not sponsored by SquareSpace, but this video is.
You remember Steve Jones?
Yeah, it was a long time ago, wasn't it?
So, 2 years. About 2 years ago,
Yeah.
Steve came in with... by the way, Steve is famous for Checkmate Amiga stuff. Yeah, very famous. And what stuff did you do in the 90s? You did 90s stuff.
Oh, yeah, I did Checkmate 1500 cases for the original one, but now we do the clone.
Yes, for clone. But he came to the office 2 years ago with a new monitor, which you guys and I was very excited about. He's got a new product out, or coming out, on Kickstarter, which is this Checkmate monitor, which I'm very excited about. Kickstarter was launched, did pretty well, yeah?
Thanks to you and the video.
Good.
I don't think it would have. It wouldn't have made it. It got to about 75%. And yours it went to the stratosphere and back.
I think it's a great product.
Yeah.
But they're now done, right? They are ready?
Yes, they're on their way.
Cool. So we've got, this is like the first one over there, yeah?
Pretty much,
the first one, and then this is...
Oh, that's a pre-production prototype.
So we've got a white one and black one.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get them over here and see what they're like.
Yes. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, cool.
It's a big box.
It is a big box, look at that. It's got Kickstarter edition written on it. It looks great. I'm a big fan of these boxes. They're a bit understated. It's like stuff like the BBC Micro will have come in. Oh, look at this. It's got Checkmate inscribed or indented in the foam. Look at this. Nice. Oh, yes. Oh, look at all these ports on the back. So many ports.
You got one fully loaded.
Fully loaded, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so let's have a look at the front to start with. So, on the front, there's a black knob.
So, there's a few extras that people weren't expecting, which you're getting for free. Now we've got this little OLED display. It's used mostly to control the scaler.
Okay.
But seeing as 90-odd% of people bought the scaler, I'd leave it on there. But if you want the little blanks, everyone's getting the blanks as well. So you can take it out and you can swap that out if you want to. But it's actually quite nice. And even if you don't have the scaler, Appy's been busy. And we have this spectrum analyzer, which you can put into it. And basically any audio that goes to the system, you get it playing at the bottom.
Well, like a visual representation.
Yeah, it's a proper
nice.
spectrum analyzer for audio. But basically what it does, the scaler, you can set up profiles. And this allows you to just load the profile that you want.
Okay.
Just by pressing the button and jumping into it.
Swivel. Oh, yeah, because the stand was
Yes,
like
it's because of the success of your video, we blew past all of the
Good work, guys.
goals. Yeah, and it's actually worked better than I thought. I just stole it. No, I copied. What's a nice way of saying I didn't say it? Well, the company's out of business anyway. Anyway, so if
It's
you
fine.
know,
It's
the
fine.
Acorn, anyone remembers the old Acorn Archimedes and all those.
So this is an Acorn monitor stand.
Yeah, no, well, you kind of. It's basically a ball.
Yeah.
With a spring and a locking nut inside of it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, it will. If you haven't got it,
Oh, it's like a horror film.
it will just keep going round. One thing was funny though was the 17-inch version.
Yeah.
We had about 20% of people wanted it, so I manufactured the tooling for it. When they actually came around to buying it, everyone realised they got eyesight like mine.
And this is 19-inch, right?
This is 19-inch. They both have the same panel. It's just and they're both the same resolution, colour, and everything. It's just it's a smaller panel, which means you get a fatter bezel, which makes it look more retro. And that was the reason for the 17.
Am I right that there's different panels for these, or is it? Did you just go for the one?
Okay, so originally we was looking into TN panels and some other. There is what we're calling the unicorn panel.
Yeah.
Which is still being worked on. There's a company in Australia that are specialised in all that stuff, but I can't go into great depth here, but they're still working on it. But there's basically the military are buying up all of these panels. They put them in ships, I guess. Okay. And the price of the panels is really expensive, and they're still trying to source a 19-inch panel. So we're working on that. I did manage to find a company that would make me an OLED, which everybody wants an OLED panel. But I have to order 50,000 panels.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so if it does well, this is the start of a journey now. This is like day one, and we're continuing to evolve this product over time.
So we've got speakers in this side.
Yes, and they are Quite powerful. I've been telling everyone they're 3-inch. And I'm the one who designed this, and they're 4-inch.
Extra inch.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I won't make that joke, but
No need.
no, it's already done now, isn't it?
So many connections. Look at that.
So, what we've got at the bottom, this is what we call slot 0 at the bottom.
I'm going to walk around here.
Yeah, shall I come around here and...
I was trying to get the microphone over to you.
Oh, sorry.
We walked over there. That's fine.
If you buy the standard monitor, which is now, it starts at $399. Okay, so that's the slot 0, which is down here. Now, what that comes with is HDMI out, which is really interesting for a lot of people out there. Now,
HDMI out allows people
output
to record, right?
Yeah.
You can record.
So the great thing is...
Capture card.
Yes. Whatever's on the screen is sent out there. So you can use this just as a conversion tool. And it will convert all signals and then put it out through HDMI.
Nice.
With audio.
Do you know what would look good on this monitor? A website from sponsor SquareSpace. You can pick from so many styles and use Blueprint AI to get the best layout and style options, along with optimized SEO tools so that you can show up in Google for the keywords that matter. It's just easy to snap features in and out, but one of my favourite abilities is to swap between mobile and desktop views so that you can optimize your content for every device and make sure it looks great. Just head to Squarespace for a free trial, and when you're ready, go to squarespace.com/nostalgianerd to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Now, this is a standard VGA. It's a 31 kilohertz, the usual one, and there's the audio for the VGA audio in. This is the stereo audio out. You can use it for headphones or just to go out. There's also a stereo phonos here, so you can take it out to a mixing desk or whatever you want. Now, key thing for this, just the standard one, has 2 AV sets. So you've got AV channel 1 and AV channel 2, which is composite, and 2 stereo phonos. So you've got 2 channels of that. And that's basically, for a lot of people, that might actually do. But then you get into the more advanced stuff. So this is what 90% of people have ordered, which is the scaler. It's called Appy's Retro Scaler. If anyone remembers the project when we first started, it was these little green boards all connected with lots of cables.
Yes.
But now it's literally a back plane. But this is the main scaler. Now this is for RGB scaling. So if you want to come in, the main slot connector on here is SCART. Which most people can get for nearly all of the computers out there. You can buy an RGB cable to go to SCART, and this will work in America. So if you're in America, just get that cable and it will plug into here. There's also an RGBI. Now RGBI is the old 9-pin, and that was for old PCs with CGA and EGA. But it also works with the Commodore 128 on their 80-column mode, so it's got that as well.
Nice.
But the other thing it's got on here is this is basically for people who don't know, the GBS 8200, which is a very low-cost arcade conversion tool to convert the 15 kilohertz into VGA so it can run on normal monitors. That's this chip here, but we started off with the GBS 8200, and basically Appy completely redesigned it and took everything it didn't need, put it on a 4-layer board, actually put some decent ground planes on it, so everything is now self-contained on a really good board. But it also uses GBSControl, which is this here. If you haven't heard about it, it's a replacement firmware, and this is the thing that does the very low latency. It does the scan lines, so if you want different types of scan lines. It'll also convert higher resolution into low resolution, so you can play them, so look like old arcade games. This is like the secret sauce. And the chip under here is the thing that makes it happen. So you have component video.
Yep.
And the great thing about the composite and the component is they stabilise the video. So if you that's like RGB. In fact, back in the day, I would have used that composite on my Amiga in Interlace. It is something special, so it's actually really good.
Okay.
If you're a backer, you get the option to upgrade. If you're buying this fresh and not a backer, basically this comes with S-Video here, so that's the audio for the S-Video, but on top of that comes with RF as well.
Oh, RF.
Yes.
Oh, so nice. Okay.
So, yeah, anything that's got RF. People did ask me, what channels does it do? So I can see if I can remember what they are. So there's PAL, PAL-M, PAL-N, NTSC, and CCAM. So it does.
That's
all of it.
very useful. That would have been very useful a few weeks ago when I made a video about a Brazilian system.
Yeah. So the RF and the S-Video, and this hold down is literally just plug and go.
Yeah.
These ones we've set them up to go plug and go. Because we've got the auto chip tuner on here, which is part of the GBSControl. But you might want to fine tune it and so on, and there's tools that you can do that with. There's actually a web server built into this, so you can log into it. If our profiles don't suit you, you can tweak them, save your profiles, and then they're accessible on that little dial on the front. So that's where you're now. The other thing, of course, we haven't stopped there. This is the Mr. Stack. So it's an FPGA system that runs just about anything in FPGA. So I've put one of these in so Peter can play with it, have fun with it. It can simulate because you like the Windows 95 IBM PC for playing all the DOS games.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So it's got all that. It's actually got quite a lot of stuff on it.
It's like a
real lot of stuff on it.
It's like an all-in-one package, isn't it?
Yep. But you can stick in a Raspberry Pi, as you can see on here. This is a mount frame power. We're also working on this product. It's called iMega, which is basically an Amiga in an FPGA. In the black monitor, there's a thing called a Pi Storm mounted onto this, which means you've got the real chipset in FPGA. This runs at about the speed of 500. It's got like 3.5 mega RAM, so it's quite a basic 500 plus, basically.
Quite beefy.
But if you put the Pi Storm on, it's about 1,000 times faster.
Okay.
And that costs about £25 for the Pi, I think. It's a Pi 3.
Yeah.
There will be an AGA version later.
Oh, the Amiga people are going to get very excited.
They are, yeah.
Very excited.
This is still work in progress. Have you heard of a Pandora's?
Yeah, Pandora's boxes. We've got them knocking around here.
Yeah, exactly. So we're working on a custom, quite high-end CPU in this form factor, so it will just literally plug in.
So we can get some nice arcade games.
Exactly.
Oh.
And we're actually configuring it for the monitor.
Yeah.
So rather than being widescreen squished, they're actually configuring it exactly. So that should be ready at the end of the year. So that's another one. And there's two other companies working on stuff which at the moment I can't talk about. But
Okay, cool. I guess we should take a look at this then, right?
sure.
All the links will be down below, so if you want to find out more about it. But we'll have a look at it and see what this baby can do.
Okay.
Cool. Do it.
Sweet.
So, we've already had a rundown of the ports on the back of this thing. Like Steve said, this one is fully loaded. So starter pack models just get this module at the bottom containing dual composite, an array of HDMI ports with one of those being an output, along with phono out, 3.5mm out, VGA in, along with audio, which honestly will be enough for most people. But having that Mr. FPGA board above it and the scaler is just the icing on the cake.
Absolute nightmare. Right, let's turn this one on.
Now, I'm sure there will be plenty of people who will review this in due course, and some will do a much more technical job than I can. But as this is literally the first model to land on UK soil, I'm just going to check out a few things.
You don't really have too much. The only thing you probably really want to do is do that, and then there's presets.
First up is to jam a USB stick into the back loaded with Big Buck Bunny. For those unaware, Big Buck Bunny is a 2008 short film made by the Blender Institute, and it's under a Creative Commons license, so perfect. As you can see, we've got a built-in navigation device, and everything can be accessed by remote.
So that's the secret, which is why I went IPS.
You can also see that the IPS screen is not only stunning, but it offers a huge angle of visibility. Look at that! The native resolution here is 1280 by 1024, a 5:4 aspect ratio which accommodates PAL or NTSC 4:3 with borders at 50, 60 or 75 Hz. And honestly, it looks so damn crisp. Clearly that's more difficult to get across in second-hand form to you guys, but take my word, it's real nice. Both speakers are also nice and bassy, although that means we do get some resonance at higher volumes.
And it is quite nice, so if there's no audio playing, it turns on.
Alright, now Steve reckons the stabilised composite on this thing is amazing, so let's try a Super Nintendo with the perfect game to test it. Rise of the Robots. Yeah.
At the moment I've got it plugged in composite, but I can stick it in the S-Video. This is composite, yeah. It's really good when you put like high resolution composite in as well. Like Amiga looks fantastic on it because it's almost like you put a flicker fix on.
He's not wrong, the colours are crisp, even the edges are pretty defined, it's all very stable, which you don't really expect on composite. If we push it through S-Video as well, then it only gets better. Now, like I said, I'm not doing a proper review here, I just want you folks to get an idea of how these production models look and feel. If I was a normal person, I'd systematically test every input with a high quality cable and then capture the output through the built-in HDMI out. But I'm not a normal person, and the thing I'm actually most interested in is running RF through this. Because I'm a masochist. So let's do that. For that we need to use Appy's scaler up here. It's quite clever how this works, so everything goes through the main module at the bottom, which has 4 HDMI inputs on the rear, but also 2 internal inputs. So the scaler output simply runs into one of those internal inputs, which we can then select using the remote control by pressing the VGA button or selecting VGA as the input source, making sure that the scaler is on so it overrides the standard VGA input. There's a lot of inputs here, so there's a bit of doubling up. Okay, the tuner displays pretty much every standard video format going, so you should have no problems wherever you are. But RF being RF means that the signal needs to be strong and interference free for a decent picture, and a lot of that is down to the cables and the broadcasting hardware.
Again, it's always at the mercy of the cables. Well, that's actually...
But after tuning in and a bit of wangling of the cable, we get this from a humble stock Mega Drive. Honestly, for RF, this is incredibly good, especially on a flat panel, where we don't have an aperture grille or shadow mask to soak up a lot of the noise. It actually looks comparable to composite on a regular screen, meaning that even the oldest and most obscure machines from your collection should work just fine. Plus remember that HDMI out, where it simply takes whatever is on the screen and chucks it out, so in theory we could daisy chain an infinite number of these screens together and immerse ourselves in RF glory. The input delay is, nothing, something which Steve has worked hard to achieve, and the delay on the HDMI out is probably only about 1 or 2 frames, so even that is barely perceivable. Running this RF signal through the HDMI out and into my Evolution capture card gives us this, which, looks pretty nice. Remember, this is RF, folks. I'm a big fan.
Added something else to it. But I originally advertised it as this with a mounting frame. Stick that in with a frame, with all the cables.
To test out true RGB, we need to press the VGA button twice, which puts the display into SCART mode. You can see that by the SCT letters at the top left of the screen. Again, I'm going to use the Super Nintendo, but coupled with this lead from Retro Gaming Cables. The scaler will then auto-adjust to the input and away you go. Now we can see Rise of the Robots in its true, fully intended glory. Just look at the crisp edges on that big blue bastard. There's no stopping him. Downgrading to a lesser fighting game also looks visually stunning. But remember, we can also fine-tune the settings of this scaler through its GB control unit. All you need to do is connect it to its hotspot, then go to gbcontrol.local in a web browser, and we can play with all sorts of things in real time as well. I can move the screen position, add or remove scan lines, which by the way actually look stunning. Just look at that. It certainly packs a punch. Plus we get an absolute ton of other options that we can save into one of the presets and then call up whenever you want. It's fantastic. Plus you get this little capture stick which accepts the resolutions this screen throws out, so it's easy to capture footage direct into OBS or whatever your favourite capture program is. Okay, I guess the next thing to do is chuck VGA through and see what the consequences are. Well, Windows seems to boot absolutely fine, detecting it as a plug-and-play monitor and accepting all the resolutions you would expect. Quitting to DOS is also absolutely no problem. Plus, every quick resolution was accepted with grace and flair. It's actually really nice to have a decent sound coming out of the screen when using the PC. It saves desk space with cumbersome speakers. And plus, this monitor just looks good sitting on top of a PC. I mean, it looks good anywhere, to be honest. Alright, lastly, let's fire up the Mister. This one plugs into the other internal HDMI port, which is HDMI 5 on the source. Now, I'm not going to give you a rundown of the Mister, but it allows you to pretty much run any computer, console or arcade game you can think of. So sit back whilst I just work through a few of those.
All that amazing FPGA and you've got Windows up.
Yes, that's all I care about, RF and Windows.
Honestly, this screen is fantastic. I am a huge fan. If I had a couple of gripes, it would be that sometimes the modules on the back are a bit finicky to slot in, and for some reason it didn't like auto-adjusting to my Super Nintendo to start with, giving a bit of a jittery output. However, the former is solved by really getting to know the hardware and what you're doing, and the latter can quickly be resolved through GBControl. Other hardware wasn't a problem at all. Just look how stable that CDI screen is. It's like a stare-off competition that I'm going to lose. I'm going to spend the next month or so getting to grips with it properly and reading the manual properly. I'll put out any updates I have on social medias, which you can follow me on using the links below. In the meantime, I'd recommend checking out Steve's wealth of videos on this thing. They'll give you a much more in-depth overview than I could ever give here. Anyway, all the links you need are down below. Until then, I'm off to the nearest LAN party. I've been Nostalgia Nerd. Toodaloo.